The crypto market as a whole is struggling. Bitcoin went from 126k down to 90k. ZCash though is still pretty close to the all-time high. The question is, can this current outperformance last? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. Let's try to figure out what's behind the rally. Now the attention on ZCash has pretty much normalized. The last video on the asset published 12 days ago performed pretty much according to the average video on this channel. So that's this line here in blue, and an average video is simply the area marked in gray. Now most people tend to forget just how bad the sell-off of ZCash was before we had this rally a few months ago. What we're seeing here is the ZCash performance relative to the Bitcoin performance. We're dividing the two prices. We also multiply this by 10,000 just to make the numbers a bit more tangible. So at the peak in November of 2016, less than 10 years ago, that ratio was at roughly $19,000. ZCash constantly underperformed Bitcoin to the point where that 19,000 went down to $3. You started off with an investment that's worth roughly the dollar amount of one car. You end up with the dollar amount worth roughly one Starbucks coffee, or maybe even less than that. And the recent rally that we talk about is the move from a Starbucks coffee to maybe a nice lunch for two people. But still, whoever bought ZCash in the early days got absolutely burned, at least relative to the investors that got into Bitcoin. And I always like to look at those relative valuations because that's really what matters. When Bitcoin and Ethereum goes up, then most altcoins go up as well. But it's really, do we get additional performance by taking on the additional risk by buying a particular altcoin? If the answer is no, and we take on all this additional risk and we don't get additional performance, then that altcoin is really worth investing in. And that was true for the majority of ZCash's lifetime. And it has only changed since August of this year. And yes, in US dollars, ZCash is close to the all-time high, but again, that's in US dollars. Here's the market cap. It's also close to the all-time high. It's now at 9 billion. It peaked at around 10 billion. And let's now get into the on-chain metrics. There is a ported version of ZCash, so ZEC on the Binance Smart Chain. Over here, we've got 22,000 holders, and the number of holders absolutely exploded starting in September. Not in August, but in September of this year. Prior to the rally, we had 12,000 holders, and that has gone up very, very quickly. Now what we see over here, that's the number of wallets that have at least two ZEC, so roughly $1,000 worth of the token. That also went up recently, again starting in September, but the number of holders didn't double. It just went up from 2,600 to 3,600, so slightly less growth. Now what we see over here, that's the number of wallets with at least 20 ZEC. So that's now $10,000 worth of the token. This is not at all-time highs. We simply just reverted the selling pressure that started in June of 2024. If you're enjoying this video so far and you're getting some value out of it, then feel free to give this a like. It will help the channel grow. It will help spread the word. Thank you very much. Of course, since June of 2024, ZEC has outperformed. So a lot of this rally has something to do with retail buying ZCash. It's not just the whales on the Binance Smart Chain that are buying into ZEC. There is something important though that happened on the 10th of October. That was the flash crash. Many altcoins within 1 or 2 hours lost 60–70% of their value to then very quickly rebound. That led to a lot of liquidations on the perpetual futures market, so on the levered bets on the price. And this did have an impact on ZCash as well. Here is the funding rate of ZCash over time. So for the vast majority of ZCash history, it did cost money to bet on rising prices of ZCash. That has then changed on the 10th of October. Now we see a more balanced funding rate. And part of the second rally that we saw, where ZCash went from 5 billion all the way to 10 billion, was just a short squeeze. So many people were betting on falling prices, and the market makers were buying up ZCash to short squeeze that speculative capital. The open interest is very close to all-time highs now as well, and there is positive correlation, right? As there are more bets on the price, so as open interest goes up, which is this green area over here, the ZEC price tends to go up as well, and vice versa. If the open interest goes down again, then the spot price will very likely follow as well. This is a connection we have seen for a long time. Whenever there is more bets and more speculation on an asset, we tend to see the price go up as well. Whenever interest and speculation goes down, the price tends to follow as well. And so here again is the 10th of October. This is where many longs got liquidated. 95 million worth of ZCash went to the market makers. And now liquidations are much more balanced. And again, there was this massive short squeeze when the price went from $300 to $600. The altcoin market as a whole on average dropped by 47%. ZCash, however, dropped much less. It's barely visible on this chart. So this is the same time period. This is the altcoin market as a whole, and this is ZCash. ZCash was able to withstand a lot of the selling pressure that happened for the rest of the market, but there is this invisible ceiling. And the big question is, how much higher can we really go? Again, ZCash is already at 8 billion market cap. If that was to double, we'd get close to Dogecoin's market cap. If that was to 6 to 7x, we'd get close to Solana's market cap. Is that very likely? I'm not so sure. Is $1,000 per ZEC possible? Yes, of course it is. Is $10,000 per ZCash possible? I think it's much less likely. Excitement around ZCash does come in waves. We have seen our pumps and dumps in the past. It doesn't look as bad when we look at a logarithmic scale, but again, those tops tend to align quite well, and we seem to have just hit another top of excitement. And whenever we go down in ZCash, we go down hard. We go down by more than 90%. I'm not saying that is going to happen tomorrow, but I am saying we are at record heights in terms of speculative open interest money on the asset, which very quickly can also fade and move into another asset. By the way, if you have not made any money with crypto in the last year, then feel free to check out the premium membership. This is where you can invest alongside with me, where you can directly copy my trades, either manually, I publish all of my trades directly, or automatically you can deposit into a copy trading pool. That trading pool made 17% return, while Bitcoin during the same time lost 24%. I'm trying to generate returns independent of market conditions, so we are delta neutral. We go long one direction, short another direction, so that we don't have to find the few winners in a sea of losers, but we can actually take advantage of the market structure. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube, or see you on premium. Again, link is down below, thebitcoinstrader.com. Cheers.